I didn't need the big whiteboard behind me for this video because there really isn't anything that I need to point out with StatKey, I don't think. So consequently, this video is going to be a lot shorter than the other two. I think there are really only two big things I have to bring up. The first one is with Module 4, which is all hypothesis testing, all the Chapter 4 stuff. If you can, I would try to leave some extra time to complete that stuff, especially if you've never done it before. If you've never done hypothesis testing before, the first time that feels harder than confidence intervals because with hypothesis testing, there are a lot more moving parts. With a confidence interval, basically it's you have your sample data, which is going to give you your point estimate, and then from there you go and get your interval, whichever way you do that, whether it's point estimate plus or minus 2 times the standard error to get the 95% confidence interval that way, like in section 3.3, or in section 3.4, where essentially you just use your sample data to generate the bootstrap distribution, and then you chop tails off, where it's you're chopping off 2.5% or 5% each tail or 0.5% each tail, and you get your confidence interval that way. With hypothesis testing, there is more stuff. They're setting up the hypotheses, and then when you generate the randomization distribution, you have to factor in what the null hypothesis is, whereas that's a step that you don't really have to take with a bootstrap distribution. And then there's the decision and conclusion at the end. So there is more stuff to do. So I think if you can leave extra time for that, that would be good. And I really hope that for the people who scheduled on Friday, which I think there are 4 people that scheduled the exam on Friday, I really hope that those people are comfortable with this, because otherwise that to me feels way too compressed. I mean, if it's a retake for you and you're scheduling it on Friday, that's probably fine. Or if you've already had another statistical methods course and it was just required that you take this one too, then that's probably going to be okay. Because otherwise that seems really intense to me. So I hope none of those 4 people are really in that situation, because they're going to have a really intense Thursday if they are. Let's see, the other thing is the project, because that's supposed to get posted today. That may or may not get posted today. I have 2 options for it, and one of them is admittedly simpler than the other. The simpler one, though, is kind of boring, and it kind of ends up being just a list of boxes to check off, and then you just kind of put them in sentence form, and then that's the entire thing. And I don't know if that really has the most value. The other option, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to get your own data. But other than that, like beyond that point, it ends up being about the same. I mean, the way that you do the hypothesis test is pretty much the same. But I would kind of want to go that way, but I have to see if I can sort of reformat what I was doing in the fall to sort of fit with the way that we're doing things now, like the order that we're going in, because it's not the order that I went in the fall. So I kind of like the one that I had in the fall, and maybe if I can just kind of refit that a little bit, then we can go with it. But I would need a little bit more time to figure out if I can actually do that and get it to work where I'd feel comfortable with it. And so the project is not actually going to be due on the 24th. I guess that's ultimately what I'm getting at. I kind of knew the whole way that that's how that was going to work. That I kind of have to put it on the 24th because that's a real school day. So at least like on the syllabus, it's got to be listed like that. But what I would imagine is if we end up going with the one that I think is easier and more boring, then I'll probably just say, you know, if you turn in like the 28th or 29th, that's probably going to be fine. And if it's the other one, the one that's a little bit longer where you have to collect your own data, although it's not a ton of data. I mean, the collecting of the data, you can still, once you figure out what you're doing, you can probably do that in under 10 minutes. If it ends up being that one, I would probably say you can turn it in up until maybe the 30th. I think that would actually probably work the best strategically, because I think if we were going to go that route, I would probably need the 31st and the 1st to try to get a bunch of the grading done. But we'll see what happens. I'll see what I can put together today. And ideally, the project will go up today. If not, it'll go up tomorrow. But either way, it's not actually going to be due on the 24th. Like, there's going to be more breathing room there.